English Leap Podcast.
From Learn English through real debates.
Welcome, everyone. Let's start our discussion. Today, we are discussing the ideas of capitalism and socialism. Capitalism, in simple terms, is about private businesses and competition.
Yeah, I see. Right? And socialism is more about sharing and equality. The government helps to support people and reduce inequality.
Exactly. Capitalism encourages innovation. For example, when people are free to start their own businesses, they work hard to create new products.
Yes, that's why I think socialism is important too. In other words, when the government supports the people, everyone has a chance to succeed.
To be more specific, capitalism is based on competition. It pushes people to be creative. Let me explain. The most ideal thing is that a competitive market helps economic growth.
Right now, I see. I understand, but instead of focusing only on growth, socialism cares about people. In simple terms, it is about making sure that everyone gets help, even if some people do not have a strong academic background or a good scholarship.
Well, let me tell you, habits shape our society. Let's say the more competition there is, the more upfront people try to improve their work. For example, companies try to give customers the best ideas to make a profit.
That is interesting. However, I think at the end of the day, if only the profit matters, then many people might be left behind. In simple terms, socialism aims to share wealth more equally.
I see your point, but by the way, the procedures in a capitalist system are like outlined procedures that encourage people to invest money in new ideas. Academic studies on economic systems often show increased innovation under capitalism.
Exactly. True, but on the other hand, academic research also shows that government policies in socialism can reduce the gap between rich and poor. In other words, social protection is very important.
Sure, for example, when competition is strong, companies need to work on better quality. That encourages economic growth and creates jobs. Think of how many businesses we see around us.
I don't think so, because sometimes that business focus can lead to inequality. To be honest, many people may not feel protected if the market is too free, and government help, in other words, could balance that.
I see what you mean, but even if there are inequalities, capitalism gives freedom. That freedom allows people to take risks. For example, a person with a good idea may start a new company.
Really? Yes, but then let me explain further. In socialism, the government helps out by planning and using outlines procedures. This means that everyone gets support, especially those who have fewer resources.
Interesting. Yet, I must say that too much government control might slow down innovation. Capitalism lets people decide quickly. The main point is that free choice often leads to faster progress.
Exactly. From my point of view, a strong government can also act fast. It may be slower sometimes, but it makes sure everyone is safe. For example, social protection policies can make a big difference when times are hard.
Okay, so you argue that policies help make society equal. I agree that equality is important. But the most ideal thing is a mix, even if we both support different ideas.
Exactly, and that is why I say socialism is needed. Sometimes too much competition leaves behind those who are not strong in competition. In other words, the government should step in to help.
Let me tell you, though, capitalism also has benefits. It pushes for constant improvement. For example, habits shape our work and product quality. The more competition, the more effort people put in.
Yes, I see what you mean. I get it. But to be honest, when you compare, socialism says that cooperation is better than pure competition. Instead of everyone fighting over the same resources, we work together for a common good.
That sounds good. But, think about this. If you remove competition entirely, there might be less incentive to work hard. Honestly, the most ideal thing is a balance. As I was saying, capitalism creates jobs and rewards hard work.
That's why I believe we should support socialism too. Besides equality, it gives security. For example, universal healthcare and education can be improved when there is strong government support. In simple terms, it protects all people.
I agree. Universal benefits are great. But I think the best way is to allow private businesses to come forward still. The academic background scholarship research often shows this balance helps a country grow in multiple ways.
Right, I see. And, let me add that when the government steps in, it can reduce the risk of poverty and provide a safety net for people who struggle. Instead of leaving people on their own, socialism builds a support system.
Interesting. Still ongoing debates ask, which system works better? You see, capitalism makes a lot of progress possible because people are free to do things their own way.
Yeah, I see what you mean. True, but at the same time, if we look at everyday life, many people prefer the idea of safety first. I mean, for example, government policies that help with education and healthcare can improve lives, especially for those without much money.
I understand, and that's why I think the competition in capitalism generates new ideas and new jobs. It outlines procedures that make the market work well.
Right now? Okay, got it. But let me explain. When too many people try to get ahead, some may not get enough help. I mean, by the way, academic studies on economic systems show that without some support, the gap between the rich and the poor can get wider.
Yes, and you might say that in other words, capitalism can create winners and losers. However, it also teaches us to be resourceful. I mean, how can I say it? The thrill of a new idea is like a spark that lights progress.
Yeah, really? I see your spark, but let me challenge that a bit. Should we really let a spark burn bright if it leaves others in the dark? The most ideal thing is to ensure everyone gets a fair chance, even if that means more government control.
That's a good point. However, I think it also depends on the balance between freedom and support. For instance, the more freedom people have to start businesses, the more new ideas will come.
All right. Sure, and instead of giving all power to businesses, we can have rules. These rules may not stop growth, but they protect the people. In other words, socialism uses government help to check those who gain too much power.
Yes, and that is where we can see outlines procedures that guide businesses and government alike. It's like a roadmap for progress. I mean, habits shape our efforts. Let's say the more structure we have, the more upfront the progress is visible.
Exactly. I agree. Proper structures are important. Also, let me say that education and academic background scholarship programs are a part of these support systems. They help people improve their lives.
That is interesting. However, I believe capitalism supports educational opportunities too, because when companies grow, they often invest in training and education. In other words, there is a cycle of improvement.
Really? Yes, but I think sometimes those opportunities are not available to everyone. In simple terms, capitalism may favor those who already have advantages. Instead of a fair start, it may create more limits for the poor.
I don't think so in all cases. Companies may help people if they see talent. But I do agree that some groups need extra help. That's why many think a mix of both systems might be best.
True. Exactly. People often say, the main point is balance. Government can support those who need help, while private businesses drive innovation. This idea is also seen in some academic studies on economic systems.
To be honest, at the end of the day, it is hard to decide. We have to ask, is it better to let people work freely or to share resources equally? Usually, capitalism means freedom, and
Absolutely.
socialism means security.
Yes, and in other words, both systems have their pros and cons. It really depends on what society values more, innovation or equality. I mean, maybe the most ideal thing is to take the best parts from each system.
I see what you mean. Let me explain further. Habits shape our business practices and also our social programs. Let's say the more you support creativity, the more products you can enjoy, and the more you share, the more people feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. And that is why this debate is so lasting. At the end of the day, we want a system that gives everyone a chance. Government policies, educational supports, and innovation incentives all play a role.
So far, we discussed how capitalism and socialism both offer important benefits. From my point of view, Freedom drives progress. But I agree, social protection is also needed.
Right, all right. In simple terms, my view is that society should care equally about growth and equality. It depends on our values. I see both systems have goods to offer.
And now we ask you, our listeners. For you, which system works better? Capitalism or socialism?
Yes, please share your thoughts. Thanks for listening.
Your progress doesn't end here. To keep improving your speaking and listening skills, explore more debates by clicking on the next video.